Welcome everybody to this presentation about the evolution of the heat exchanger portfolio for R-290, and thanks for attending this session. This presentation will be held by me, Matteo Todescato. In Alfa Laval, I'm part of the business unit Brazed and Fusion Bonded Heat Exchangers, in which I hold the position of application and product specialist, focusing on both heating and cooling applications. In the presentation today, we are going to touch three main topics. First, the effect of the European regulations on the transition to new refrigerants. Second, how the new Alfa Laval SE range meets the latest market requirements. And finally, we will have an helicopter view on the Alfa Laval portfolio. Let's start with an overview of the new F-gas regulation and on its impact on the refrigerant landscape in the European region. The new F-gas regulation, or EU 2024-573, officially came into force on March 11th of this year with the ambitious target of preventing emissions of 310 million tons of CO2 equivalent within the HVAC sector by 2050, and through the deployment of cleaner technologies. The impact in the midterm future of this regulation can be better defined, as we can see in the chart on the right-hand side, by comparing the new target that we can see in light blue and still measured in million tons of CO2 equivalent with the one of the previous revision dated 2014 that we can see in orange. Such achievement could only be obtained by means of a strong reduction in the average GWP within the refrigerant landscape, affecting different technologies and machinery types, among which we surely worth mentioning monoblock units, reversible split units, and cooling-only units. All these technologies will be then subjected to bans involving refrigerants with GWP higher than certain limits, with a few cases in which natural refrigerants such as R-290, CO2, and ammonia will be the only allowed possibility. Depending on the refrigerant, timing of the ban implementation and the GWP limit are different, but we can say that in most of the cases it won't be possible to sell machinery operating with traditional refrigerants such as R-410A, R-32, and R-134A. In addition, an evaluation by the European Chemical Agency on possible PFAS restrictions is expected in the near future, potentially impacting a list of refrigerants that would be otherwise compliant with the limitations set by the F-gas, among which we can surely mention R-454C, R-454B, and the most common HFOs with the R-1234ZE as an example. Based on this scenario, and since the first drafts of the new F-gas regulation, many companies have been looking into alternatives to the traditional refrigerants, of course, with propane basically emerging as the most common choice. Let's talk about propane then. And let's say that when designing a unit operating with propane, one key aspect to be considered is, of course, its high flammability, since we're talking about an A3 class refrigerants. Due to this, the amount of refrigerant or refrigerant charge needs to be kept below some limits. As a reference, we can consider residential applications in which, in the last years, such a limitation in the maximum refrigerant charge were more deeply specified within European standards, such as the EN 378 and the IEC 60335, 240, and 289. As you can see, while the limitation in the refrigerant charge is not really problematic when it comes to outdoor units, with indoor units, the only way to avoid the use of extra safety features is to keep the charge below 152 grams per circuit, which means designing units with capacity up to 7-8 kilowatts, again per circuit, according to the standard European efficiency level. The refrigerant charge is kept anyway below some upper limits in order to avoid mechanical ventilation, which reduces the overall system efficiency. We can say that the limitation in the maximum refrigerant charge affects most of the component contained within any heat pump or a chiller, and of course heat exchanger included. In other words, the design of such components needs to be adjusted in order to minimize the refrigerant charge while keeping a high efficiency level. Of course, Alfa Laval was involved from the start in this change of specifics. And specifically, we decided to create a whole new range called SE and dedicated for hydrocarbons and propane specifically. SE stands for safety and efficiency. We're going to go more in detail about the meaning of such words in the next slides, but first let's talk about the 4 models included within the range. Let's start with SC43, which is designed for residential air-to-water heat pumps and for light commercial heat pumps and chillers up to 40 kilowatts. Due to its design, it's a perfect fit for air-to-water outdoor units, but thanks to its high efficiency, using indoor units is also possible. Then SC65 is a perfect fit for ground source residential heat pumps and for light commercial heat pumps and chillers up to 60 kilowatts. For those who are familiar with our portfolio, the plate format is the same as CB65 and AC65, so premium efficiency both in heating and cooling is guaranteed. Then we have SC74, which is designed for chillers and heat pumps up to 100 kilowatt capacity, and especially ideal for modular chillers with 80 kilowatt capacity with optimization both in heating and cooling. Finally, we have SE240, which is the only double circuit model currently present within the SE range. Then designed for chillers and heat pumps up to 250 kilowatts, and especially ideal for reversible modular chillers with 160 kilowatt capacity. One quick mention about availability. While SC43 and SC74 are fully released already, with the SC65 and SC240, they will be available in the next half or in the first half of next year or a little bit later, depending on the model. Let's now get to the meaning of safety, according to Alfa Laval. And we can say specifically that it's the combination of 4 different principles. First, the very low refrigerant charge, thanks to a new channel plate design with very narrow refrigerant channels. This is one key concept that needs to be kept in mind. The smaller, the narrower is the refrigerant channel within the heat exchanger, the lower will be the overall refrigerant charge contained within the unit. Of course, all the SE range models share this feature. Then we have a design pressure of 40 bars at 150 degrees Celsius, which means having an important safety margin when operating with propane. Third, a leak test rate compliant with the strictest limitations provided by the ISO 14903. And finally, again, a new channel plate design that allows to further and further decrease any possible risk of freezing. Let me stress that freezing prevention in Alfa Laval is one of the key pillars within the channel plate design. Since many years, we constantly challenge ourselves in order to always find new cutting-edge solutions in order to further and further improve our performance and, again, further and further reduce any possible risk of freezing. Unfortunately, today there is not enough time to discuss this in detail, but if you are curious, please feel free to reach out to me or to my colleagues for more information. Let's now move to the meaning of efficiency, and to better understand how Alfa Laval fully embraces this concept, let's directly compare the new SE models with the corresponding legacy models. And let's start with SC43. So, in comparison to the legacy model ACH43, the same format is kept in order to allow a quick and simple system implementation, but with 2 main advantages. First, the very deep reduction in the refrigerant holder volume, which is minus 40% at the same heat transfer area or same number of plates, as you want to describe it. And second, an improvement in the heating performance with a condensing temperature that can be lowered down by 1 Kelvin at the same conditions, basically, and while keeping the same premium cooling performance. Moving to SC240 instead, and again comparing with the legacy model ACH240, we keep the same format for the same reasons explained for SC43. We get a reduction in the refrigerant holder volume, minus 10% in this case, but most of all, a very deeply improved heating performance within this time, condensing temperature that can be reduced up to 2 Kelvin at the same conditions. And again, while optimizing, while keeping the same optimized cooling performance. Let's now move to an overview of the Alfa Laval portfolio, and let's start with more residential and commercial applications dedicated to R-290. We like to present our portfolio using a chart to stress 2 degrees of complexity. First, from left to right, the capacity level, starting from the single apartment application up to the many industrial and commercial applications you can think of. And second, on the vertical axis, the size of the refrigerant channel. Again, this is very important to be kept in mind. The narrower, the smaller is the refrigerant channel, the lower will be the refrigerant charge. Based on this, it's easy to understand that the heat exchanger models that are more traditionally provided for applications such as outdoor units where the refrigerant charge is less of an issue are the ones that are positioned on the top part of the chart. While, for the same reason, the heat exchanger models that are, again, traditionally provided for applications where the refrigerant charge needs to be minimized, such as indoor applications, are the one positioned in the bottom part, mid-bottom part. The new SE range clearly belongs to this second category, but the fact that more than one model is mostly intended to be used in outdoor applications testifies a change basically in the market mindset, with more and more focus on the minimization of the refrigerant charge, regardless of the final application, and not strictly driven by the existing regulations, basically. Let me stress also that one of the Alfa Laval key strengths is the possibility to address many different market needs with potentially opposite requirements. This is why we are able to provide competitive and highly efficient solutions, even in case larger channels are required. Again, if that's the case, most likely the heat exchanger models that will fit such kind of needs are the ones positioned in the middle top part of the chart. Finally, let's move to a more commercial/industrial sector portfolio. And let's have a look not only to the heat exchanger models, but to the refrigerant landscape. As you may have noticed, the physical quantity represented in the vertical axis has now changed to the supply temperature of the secondary fluid. This allows us to see that propane with only 80 degrees can be considered a solution, but not the only solution. This is especially valid if the scope is widened, including also industrial applications in which much higher temperatures can be required, depending again on the specific application. This is why many companies have been looking into alternatives, of course, into other refrigerants, and it's surely worth mentioning other hydrocarbons, such as butane and pentane. It is Alfa Laval intention to add to the current offer that we can see here, so AC502, AC540, AC900, and AC1000, new SE models inheriting the same features of the smaller models. This is why we say that the SE range is technically destined to applications involving hydrocarbons in general and not only propane. Finally, it's surely worth mentioning other refrigerants, and we can start first with HFOs, which are not, which we decided not to mention because of the probable ban that will happen after the new decision by the European Chemical Agency on PFAS, but that can provide even higher temperatures than the one that are shown in the chart. Then, of course, we have CO2 with very high design pressures, and where Alfa Laval is already capable of providing solutions with our EXP, CBP, and CBXP ranges. And finally, ammonia, requiring a full stainless steel solution, as in our Alfa Nova range, because of chemical compatibility. So, summing up, the European market, heat pump market, is rapidly evolving, driven either by new regulations or by the need of the industrial sector. The residential and commercial heat pump sector is mostly looking into propane for their new products, while the industrial heat pump sector is investigating a wider scope of refrigerants, among which is surely worth mentioning hydrocarbons. Alfa Laval has developed and continues to develop the new SE range in order to constantly be able to address the new market requirements. For more information, please feel free to reach out to me or to my colleagues. And you're of course welcome at our stand here at Chilventa. Thank you.